Good evening and welcome to the Speak Easy podcast. I am your host, Constance Willard, and this evening we have series 3 of relationships and Christian dating. And tonight we are going to talk about the effects of culture and religion on dating. And so I'm going to bring our panelists up. We have Queen Candy from the Queen Candy podcast. How are you, my sister?
Good, good. How are you? Thank you for having us on.
Yes, welcome, welcome. And just kind of tell the audience who you are.
Hello everyone. We are Queen Candy. We are the host of the Queen Candy podcast. We talk about, for those that do not know, we are a Muslim woman. We teach Islam on our show. We give basically our life story, spread positivity and encouragement, upliftment, and our mistakes and our journey and what got us to where we are today. We are, of course, on the CTR Media Network with our sister Constance here, and we've been loving the journey so far. Today is actually our 2-year anniversary of doing our podcast, so it's been wonderful. We give all praise to Allah. What else? We're doing radio, we sell jewelry, produce. We've done acting, a little bit of modeling. We've been done dabbled in a little bit of everything, but now our main focus is to teach and to just motivate and hopefully step up and be a leader and, help our sisters.
So, what night and what time is your podcast?
We do our podcast Monday evening and Thursday evening at 8 p.m. Monday is our live show, and Thursday is our pre-recorded show. And of course, we had amazing interviews and great guests on the show. And it's 2 days a week.
Okay, excellent. So, our next guest is Siobhan, the relationship strategist. So, good evening, Miss Siobhan. How are you?
Good evening. I'm well. How are you guys?
We are wonderful, excited about our show tonight. Just tell the audience a little bit about you.
Okay. So my name is Siobhan and I go by the relationship strategist. And so I empower Christian couples in committed relationships to strengthen their partnership and eliminate unhealthy behaviors through effective communication. And I'm also an author and a speaker.
Wow. Okay. And so where are you located?
I'm in Texas.
All right. Okay. All right. The big state of Texas.
That's right. The country of Texas.
Okay. And so next we have the one and only Dr. Pastor Robert Cockfield. Good evening. Hello. How are you? And he blanked out on us. There he is. How are you, Pastor Cockfield?
Doing fine.
Okay. So tell the listening audience a little bit about you.
My name is Dr. Robert Cockfield. I'm originally from Peoria, Illinois. I've been residing in San Antonio area for about almost 40 years, in and out. Founder and CEO of Get Up Community Center, Get Up Ministries, and currently working now to crank things back up as far as the community center is concerned. And my next project is really going back to feeding the homeless. Yes.
Yes. That you know me and my thoughts on community outreach. That's something that I do enjoy doing. I was a part of that ministry when I lived in San Antonio, and I look forward to Saturdays having the food bank and greeting the people to come and get the food and to minister to them. So it's so important.
Yes, ma'am.
The needs are still great. And so, Scripture teaches us that the poor will always be with us, but we can still extend a hand and help. And so this evening, our discussion, we're going to talk about culture and religion and how those two play a part in our dating and in our relationships. And so I'm going to start with Queen Candy and let her come to the forefront and share from her perspective as a practicing Muslim. Good evening.
Hello, everyone. Guess we should start being a Muslim woman and a Muslim wife. We do live a very completely different lifestyle from other people. Of course, we have to be with one person. We know we get the question a lot, like, can you have more than one husband and more than one wife? We're like, no, you cannot do that. You cannot do that, period, y'all. And this is no disrespect, but that is Orthodox Muslim. That is something they believe. We have our own version of Islam. So we're with our husband, we happily married. We happily married, everyone, going on 2 years. So yeah, somebody's been putting up with us for 2 years now. But that's just a joke. But we just say that yeah, we do live a completely different lifestyle. He opens the door, we don't open the door if he's home. We practice modesty. The main thing we want to say this evening is the drive behind teaching Islam is teaching peace amongst your brothers and your sisters, and especially being married as a Muslim couple, you have to be on the same mentality, if you will. You both have to have the same vision for getting out there teaching, recruiting your brothers and your sisters, helping them wake up to the knowledge of who they really are. Because a lot of us as Black people, we don't really know our history. We don't really know where we come from. We don't even really know we know how we got here. Take that back. We know how we got here, but we don't know our true selves. That would be the word that we're looking for. And being in a Muslim marriage, it is a lot different. It is a lot different. We don't go anywhere without our husband, period. We have to practice modesty, communication, patience, which is something we're working on, because anyone that knows us really well, that is something we're short of. So, we practice patience. And our husband, we don't know how he does it, but he's the most patient person we've ever seen ever in our life. But of course, like we say, you have to be with one person. Always honest, no matter how ugly it gets. You have to be honest no matter what. What else are we missing for right now? We don't go out, and people consider us to be boring, but we like that. Really, like people think we're boring, but I don't want to go out there and get dead. I don't know about anybody else, but we watch the news and we keep up with what's going on. And we stay home. We talk to each other. We're in each other's faces 24/7. So we have all the inside jokes, we make each other laugh. But really, honestly, when it comes down to it, our main goal is to wake our people up. And you have to be, no matter what religion or what relationship you in, y'all gotta be on the same forefront. Y'all gotta be on the same mentality. Y'all gotta be on the same mind frame. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Because if you're doing this and he's doing that, or she's doing this and you're doing that, it's never going to work. So that's pretty much what we can say for right now. As far as it's a lot different. It is, but we honestly wouldn't trade anything. We probably wouldn't be sitting here talking to y'all had we not accepted that. We'd probably be dead, to be honest. So, we just give all praise to Allah, and our husband, of course, for saving our life. So that's all we have for
So
right
I have one question for you.
Okay.
How did Islam affect you as far as your dating life? I mean, when you and your husband met, how did you meet? How long did you date, and how did Islam affect your dating?
True story. We actually knew each other a year before we even got married. We were in a abusive relationship for about 14 months before being with our husband and talking to him. We were in Atlanta at the time, and he was here in Indiana, where we currently live. We were supposed to come about a year ago, and we chickened out because we were too afraid to leave our relationship. But after the third altercation, we decided enough was enough. It just like hit us, because we think that women, we always make the mistake of waiting for the man to fix things and for them to make it better. And we can only speak for ourselves, but we just realized it wasn't going to change.
Wow.
It wasn't going to work. And, no shot to the man, but the person we were with, we can only say just wasn't the right person for us. And we just called him, and we hadn't talked in months because we decided to work things out with our now ex. And we called him, and we was like, hey, is that offer to Indiana still standing? Because we got to get out of here. And we joking now, but at the time we made that phone call, we were very, very serious, because we realized, girl, if you don't get out of this, you'll end up dead or sitting in somebody's jail cell. Like, no lie. And we came up here in a few weeks. He was a gentleman. Like, no lie, everybody. He was a gentleman. He didn't try to do anything. We came with our oldest son at the time, and he welcomed us in, and we had our own room at the time, and he didn't try anything. He started teaching us Islam, and we come to the fact that he was Muslim because we would always see him salute. And we finally just asked, why you always do that? So he started teaching us and talking to us about that, and we got intrigued about it, and we started studying and getting our books and so on and so forth. And after that, he claimed us as his wife, because just another thing that's different with Muslims, we don't have to be on paper being married. We're married through Islamic law. Don't know if that makes any sense at all. But he claimed us as his wife, and after that, it just went from there. So we started getting to know each other, and he was teaching us, or still is actually. And yeah, that's how we met. So we did know each other before we were married.
Okay. And so if you don't mind me asking, what faith did you grow up in? Were you raised in?
We were raised as a Christian. We did. Our grandfather, who is now, he passed away. He was 95. He was a pastor of the church we were going to at the time. And we have 2 other pastors in our family currently. But yeah, we did grow up as a Christian. And we did dabble in Jehovah's Witness only because we were in foster care at the time. And our foster mom was a Jehovah's Witness. So we did follow the Christian faith, and we did follow Jehovah's Witness for a minute. And
Wow.
eventually we did leave. Yeah.
Okay. And so, Pastor Cockfield, I would like for you to share from your perspective, how does culture and religion affect dating?
I would say that it has a big effect because over the years in pastoring, I've had biracial couples. I had couples that were from different backgrounds as far as faith was concerned. And I think, it's a beautiful thing when you can have a clear-cut and concise conversation about what your belief systems are and how that they can work together. And I know a lot of folks that's in the Christian community that I've dealt with, I understand from a theological and biblical perspective, they might have a problem with what I'm probably getting ready to say. Because, you hear this a lot, that we're not supposed to be unequally yoked.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens when, you do come together, you consummate this relationship, and then you find out that at the end of the day, your belief systems are different, or maybe your level of understanding is not what you thought it was as you grow into the faith. How do you deal with that? And so for me, I've always encouraged couples to not dispel or dismiss each other and make it a negative experience. Really start with what's going to be the standard or benchmark, and get to know each other and know each other's faith. And what does that really mean to you? Dig deeper. You might find out that what you thought you knew, you don't know. And that it may need to be retooled. I think it's about putting the work in. And as far as the culture aspect of that, again, I've had, folks that were biracial or come from, different cultures, and they were married, and I've seen it go right, seen it go wrong. The part that I've seen that's beautiful is when they take an open-ended approach to wanting to learn each other's culture and get to know what does that really mean before you start judging it, and then really having some serious dialogue about how do you make that work, or if it doesn't work. Where I've seen it go wrong is when you come out the gate dismissing that culture because of prejudices that you may have had in the past or things you've seen or heard without giving it a chance. And they still come together. They still together. So I'll give you a quick example. I'm dealing with somebody just recently that got into a marriage and did prejudices about that particular culture. And as we were talking, I said, well, why did you get married in the first place? You know, and you're already married. So what are you going to do about it? And it astounded me. The person said, I don't know if I can make that shift. And so what I had to get them to understand, well, you know, kind of late in the ball game for that. I think in all fairness, why didn't you tell that person that? You know, and be transparent about why you did it in the first place and have that real conversation. So it's really coming down for me. I'm just speaking for me from my perspective as a pastor. That transparency has to be there. And regardless, culture or religion, because, you know, and I appreciate what she just said. You know, she was honest, said, hey, I was Christian, then I dabbled a little bit into this faith, Jehovah's Witness, and now I'm a Muslim. That can be beautiful. It just depends on how it's looked at and how it's expressed and how you make it work as a family unit and as a couple.
Yeah, you know, you said something about being unequally yoked. We hear that all the time in church about, you know, being unequally yoked. And so I think a lot of people don't fully understand what that term means.
Mm-mm.
It does not just mean because you marry somebody who does not believe and who does not go to church, or they say they believe or whatever. It can be a combination of things as far as being unequally yoked. That can apply to a whole lot of situations in life that we have to deal with. So it's not just religion. It can be lifestyle. It can be your ideas of how to raise children, finances, you know, celebration of holidays. Okay, how are we going to do this thing? You know, your family gets together, my family gets together. How are we going to do this thing? I've got a friend, her daughter's been married now 14 years. And 13 out of those 14 years, her son-in-law has been in her house for the Christmas holidays and has not spent time with his mother and his family. And so his mother this year planned a cruise for them to go on and did not invite my friend. And she feels a certain kind of way. And I said, listen, that's his mother and that's his family. I said, he should have been spending time with his mother anyway and his family during the holidays. I said, 13 years and he has not spent the holidays with them. And that's a big deal.
Wow.
I said, a discussion should have occurred. Okay, this year we're going to alternate it. The even years will go to your mother's. The odd years will come here. I said, as his mother-in-law and somebody who's supposed to know better, you should have encouraged him to do that. And so now she's upset. He's going on a trip and she's not invited. Well, it's his mother's trip. It's his family's trip. You're not in that family. I'm sorry, you're not. And so why should you feel a certain kind of way when you, as the more mature adult, supposedly knowing better, should have intervened and said something to your daughter? Hey, you know, maybe you need to go to your husband this year. You know, you need to spend some time with your husband's family. Because see, they 13 years have gone by. And all the kids are home except this one sibling. And so I'm sure his mother feels a certain kind of way, and his siblings too. So it's a matter of obtaining an understanding, gaining an understanding. And, you know, some things need to be discussed before you walk down the aisle and say, I do. Don't wait until it's over with, then you get in it. Well, okay. Well, you know, I don't believe this and I don't believe that. You know, and I think I told you guys the last series, you know, when I was married, my ex was Pentecostal. They don't celebrate holidays. I didn't know that. He did not share that with me. But the whole time we were dating, he came to my house for Christmas and had a good time. So I didn't think anything of it. And then after we get married, his sister tells me, oh, we don't celebrate holidays. I said, what do you mean? We don't. I said, well, your brother's been celebrating since he met me. She said, well, he should have told you. He should have told you. We don't. And so I talked to him about it. He said, no, we don't. I said, okay, here's the deal. You don't celebrate, that's your problem. It's not mine. So Christmas, Valentine's Day, and my birthday, you will buy me a gift. if you're planning on staying married to me, because that's important to me. Okay? And so guess what? The whole time we were married, Christmas rolled around, I got a gift. Birthday, I got a gift. Valentine's Day, I got the flowers and the gift. So, but that's a discussion we should have had prior to, not after we were married. And here's Christmas. We got married July. Now here's Christmas, and I found out from his sister of all people, not him. Oh, well, we don't celebrate holidays. What do you mean you don't? So these discussions need to be had prior to couples getting together and deciding, hey, this is what I want. I want to be committed. Culture makes a big difference. Now, I know in the Hispanic culture, Christmas Eve is a big deal for them. They get together on Christmas Eve. That I forgot what they call it, but that's their celebration, Christmas Eve. Okay. Well, for me, Christmas Eve is a big deal too, because that's the night I put up my final Christmas tree. I have everybody over. We put that final tree up. We bake cookies. We bake. Get ready. We're getting ourselves into the festive mood of Christmas and the celebration of the birth of Christ. And so that's how I celebrate it. So these things need to be discussed. It's important that they are discussed because culture does play a big part into dating and our relationships. It plays a big part. And so that's a discussion that needs to be had. And I'm going to say to Queen Candy, you said that, you met your husband, he came more or less was your protector and your rescuer, for what I'm gathering from your story.
Yes.
And he introduced you to Islam.
Yes. He
began to teach you about Islam. Now, the person that I was dating, he thought he was going to teach me about it, in which I did learn some things. I did,
Okay.
He gave me a book, and I still have the book. He gave me a book. He bought me a copy of the Quran.
Okay.
Okay. And I have read it, and I did read it. But here's the deal. I made it plain to him. I'm not converting. I'm not casting aside what I believe. I just can't do it. So I think he thought in the newness of things that eventually he'd be able to convince me.
Wow.
To convert.
No, that's the thing, especially with us teaching Islam. It's not our job to force anybody. Just like you said, you're not converting over. I'm not going to judge you for that. That's your decision. And just anybody. And we have plenty of Christians on our show. And we've come across plenty, but that's why it's called free will. It's your decision. It's your choice. I can't judge you because you don't want to learn Islam. That's everybody's on a different path. So even if I met a sister I never met in my life, a day in my life, I started talking and I don't want that. Okay. That's when we back off. And, we still, we ain't going to cut you off or anything like that. But, that's your choice. So that's not our job. If you don't want it, or you, like you say, you don't want to convert over, that's your choice. So,
Yeah.
Right.
And so it's important. I was always honest with him. No. And so, as the years went by, I guess he was feeling froggish one day. And he decided to call me and said, I need to know today, what are your intentions as far as Islam? What do you believe? What is Christ to you? And I'm like, Lord Jesus, why did this man go here today with me? This is not the right day for him to go here. So guess what? I had to let him know who Jesus was to me. And when I got through talking, he says, I understand. And that was the end of the dating right there. That was the end of the relationship.
Exactly. Because like I said, we can't force people. And we're glad he said that. Right. Yes, we're glad.
I had to get, I wasn't going to lie to him. I mean, I really liked it. But I wasn't going to lie. So I had to just come on out and just tell him, hey, this is it. Here it is. Yeah. And so when I said what I said, he says, I understand. And he left it alone. Yep. Left it alone. So Siobhan, I'm sorry, Queen Candy. I'm sorry to be to cut you off.
Oh, you did that.
Okay. So Siobhan, let's hear from you. What are your thoughts as far as culture and religion on dating?
Okay. So I'll just take it from religion first. So being a Christian, that's like a generic term, especially nowadays, because there's so many different denominations. There's so many different belief systems. I can say I'm a Christian, and the next person over here, when we start to talk, we might believe a core, but there might be some other things that don't match up. or it could. So it's just a wide array of a bunch of different stuff. So as far as Christianity is concerned, being, and I know we talked about like being equally yoked and stuff like that. So you're right. It doesn't just entail the religious portion of, and I'll just say this. I know religion is just a general term, but relationship is what I go by. And so Bible, reading the word, reading the scriptures, prayer, things of that nature, and having a relationship with Christ and being able, to hear from him, speak to him, and get direction to him. That's totally different to me than someone who's talking about just reading the Bible. Sometimes, because sometimes people pick and choose what they want to believe. It's different than just the overall arching of Christianity. So I think when it comes down to it, really having a conversation to find out what does it truly mean. And you're right, up front, you should have conversations, but sometimes as we're finding out, you don't find things out until you're in the either something comes up like or holidays coming up or, a debate about rearing children, whatever the case may be. You don't find out some things about your partner until you're actually in a situation. And so I think that just really being able to be open and honest, because sometimes people are afraid to be open and honest because they're thinking about the what if. Well, if I say this, then they'll do that, fear factor. As far as culture is concerned, we got a lot of different cultures. I know we could take the black and white, but let's just talk about there's subcultures within cultures as well.
I was going to say that. Yes, yeah. I was going to say that there are subcultures within cultures. Yes,
absolutely. So it's just a plethora of things. So really getting to know, find out why do you want to be with this person? If you're already married to them, why did I marry them? Why are we together? What are we trying to build together? And then if you really have a problem with their culture, I think that if you're with somebody, try to understand it. And if it's just totally different and you can't get with it, maybe it's against your morals. I don't know. Maybe it's something that is really taking you away from who you are at your core. Then you need to rethink, can God bring us together and help us resolve this? Or do we need to dissolve this? Now, I'm a proponent of keeping marriage together, but I also understand that doesn't always happen, so it's a lot. It's a lot. This is a big question and it has many dynamics to it. So yeah, that's my take on that piece.
But, and my thoughts are if you meet someone, and that, when you meet someone, there's a certain level of attraction when you initially meet someone. But as you grow to know that person, you're talking and you're learning about each other. If you have a conflict with what they believe, why would you pursue the relationship? Think about that. If you feel so strongly about what you believe, why pursue the relationship? Now, for me, I made it point blank. I'm not converting. Okay. And so everything was cool. Everything was cool for a long period of time. And then I guess one day he's like, okay, this is it. I need to know what she's going to do because I'm ready to make a move. And maybe that's what he was thinking. I don't know. But, again, as Queen Candy says, it's important to be honest. I don't care what you believe. It is very important in a relationship, just even with personal interactions. It's important that you remain authentic and be honest. Because guess what? Yeah. It's going to come out in the wash anyway. So honesty, I think culture, be honest about it. You can be in the same family and have different beliefs about something. Mm-hmm. Raised in the same house, same rules, same regulation, same morals, and all of you will see things differently. Because guess what? We're individuals. And as we mature, we have our minds made up about certain things and we feel a certain way about certain things. And so it doesn't matter that we grew up in the same family, the same household. We have our own ideas and our own beliefs. Mm-hmm. And so all that comes into play. All of that comes into play. And so, Queen Candy, you talked about your dating process and, how it all came together and your husband doing the teaching and so forth. So I'm going to put this out to the panel, to you guys. Do you think it is the husband's responsibility to teach and to mentor as far as Christianity and religion goes? And Pastor Cogfield, I'll start with you.
Yes, I think that he should. But I think it needs to be some equality to that. Let me make sure I make this clear. So the Bible talks about like Colossians 3:18, like husbands love your wife, don't be harsh with them. And then Ephesians 4:29 talks about this having in this relationship unwholesome talk, that don't let that come out of your mouth, but do things that help build one another up. And I think that if we're not careful, we'll look at it from the fact that he may be the head of the household and he has to have all the answers. And I've learned that's not true. I think that's where that building each other up comes into play, and sharpening each other and helping each other to really teach one another what that should look like for that relationship. And I like the relationship strategies. I didn't even know what that was until I met you. And it's beautiful. I think it's like that to engage us in these kind of things that we're discussing. Just because I'm the head of the household don't mean I have all the answers. Maybe the other person only can take us so far in helping to instruct and really get a clear understanding of what this benchmark or standard from culture and religion should look like. I think professionals have to play a part in that too. And that's being an African American, we shun for that. I'm not saying everybody does that, but a lot of the folks I met, they try to figure too many things out themselves when they hit walls on certain things. So I think that's critical. Someone has to take the lead, but it has to be some shared governance in that. When it's time for that subject matter expert that needs to show up, and I think it has to be. It could be, I lead it. My spouse will apologize it off. And then once I realize we don't have all the answers we need for certain things, let's go find somebody else that knows what they're doing and round it out, make whole.
All right. And so you mentioned the expert. We have the expert here in our company tonight, Miss Siobhan, the strategist. So come on and talk to me. So in your opinion, is it, as Pastor Cockfield said, is it a shared governance situation, or is it the husband or the man's responsibility to do the teaching as far as religion and so forth?
So I believe it's shared, because different people, depending on what relationship you're in, could be at different points as far as how much you are into, how you hear, how you know what gifts you have. So I don't think that it's just automatically because, it's the man, that the man should automatically be in charge of leading. But what I will say is that, the couple together, they could figure out what their strong points are, ask the Lord to come and help develop them. And a lot of times, one person could start off one way. Let's just say I was a stronger person, and then my husband, maybe he's learning from me. And then after a while, as he grows and develops, he could have more confidence to take like more of a leadership role in that. But in the meantime, I'm doing what I need to do in order to help bring us as a couple up to where we need to be. So I don't think it just should be strictly the man. I think it's whoever is there and is able to help, the unit, the couple as a whole. That's what I believe.
Okay. All right. So Queen Candy, what are your thoughts on it? I know in Islam, the husband does take the lead on that. So I want to hear from you.
Yes, the husband does traditionally take the lead, and the way we do it in Islam is the women teach the women and the men teach the men. So we kind of agree with what Siobhan was saying. It is in a different way, it is kind of a shared responsibility. So say if, just hypothetically, Robert, if you were to come to us and say, I want to learn Islam, just hypothetically, we would tell you, we can't teach you per se, we would send you to our husband. Or if a sister came to our husband, he would send her to us. You get what we're saying? So we do kind of agree. It is like a share. The men do traditionally step up and be the lead. But if for some reason, let's just say our husband got to travel and minister somewhere else, under Islam, we would have to step up and teach the women and, basically have that shared responsibility that Siobhan was talking about. So yeah, they do traditionally, but we don't really interact with the men unless they want to be taught. So it is kind of a shared responsibility, but yeah.
Okay. All right. And so I'm going to ask the panel this question. That we talked about, shared governance. We talked about being unequally yoked or being appropriately yoked. We talked about dating. We talked about culture. We talked about subcultures. And so knowing these things and based upon the discussion that we have had tonight, for any new couple, young, middle-aged like myself, or older, what guidance and advice do you have or would you offer to them as far as dating? And I'll start with you, Siobhan.
Okay. Based on the conversation that we had today, taking everything into account is conversation. Don't be afraid to actually have a good idea about what you actually want and what you would like out of the relationship and your expectations. A lot of times we have unspoken expectations. We know, but at the end of the day, we don't want to share them. Sometimes it's because it's for many different reasons. Sometimes it's you're not thinking that it needs to be said. It's kind of, well, I know this, I do this. You should know. It's almost you're thinking that it's an automatic thing that someone should already know. But open up your mouth. I mean, that you're going to be together, and if you're talking about a marriage, for a lifetime. So have plenty of conversations often, and then also listen to what your partner is saying. Sometimes we hear what we want to because we're expecting a certain thing, but try to listen openly and listen in order to understand them and not necessarily to respond. Right? Even if you don't agree, take it into account and try to see things from your partner's perspective, if for nothing else to get a different view take, so you can learn them a little bit more. Try some things. I'm not telling you to go against your morals or anything like that, but if it's something that you're not used to and your partner, that's something that's part of maybe their culture or something they like to do, try it with them. But yeah, when you're dating, I'm not going to say be open-minded to the point that you change, okay, your deep down core, but be open and minded enough that you're respecting your partner, because you also, so this is kind of where the relationships, we want to remain as individuals, but at the same time, we want to come together and grow as a couple. And if you're not careful and you do too much of the coming together as a couple, you'll lose yourself. Okay. And if you're not careful as well, you'll be too independent to where, it's just like, okay, are we supposed to be together or not? So it's a balance, so just keep that in mind, and also seek wise counsel. If you don't know what you're doing, go to someone who you feel, who you can trust, or a professional who can help you see outside of yourself. And that's what I will offer to couples.
Wow. Okay, Queen Candy, take it away.
Well, I'm just going to piggyback off what Siobhan just said, because I agree with everything fully. We made the mistake of just jumping into relationships and not getting to know the person we were with. So honestly, the advice we would give is don't let that fear stop you from being yourself. That's one thing we always experience. I don't care if you're male or female. We always at that fear. What are they going to say? Are they going to be mad at me? Or is he going to leave me? If they're going to leave, they're going to leave. You can't stop that. It's the inevitable. You can't avoid it. And we made the mistake of being lost. It's like, we don't get everything she just said pretty much, but we made the mistake of getting lost. And, not saying men don't do it, but women, we always get in relationships and we give and we take care of everybody else except for ourselves. And then we looking up like, okay, what do I want to do? So with all that being said, communicate, just like Siobhan said, you don't have to agree. Just because I'm married don't mean I always agree with my husband. No, we don't always agree, but we learning and we still learning. You always going to learn, especially when you're married, how to, you can agree to disagree. You can communicate, you can agree to disagree. He's adapted to things that we like. We've adapted to things that he like, and it didn't kill us. We still breathing. Okay. And, don't be afraid to speak up, but don't belittle your partner. Don't talk down to them. But, babe, I ain't like when you said X, Y, Z, or I don't like when you treated me like ABC or something like that. Now, however they take it, we can't say, but, we've always experienced allowing fear to keep us from opening our mouth. And now we just look, we just going to be 100. We just going to be honest. If you take it, We don't know if you're gonna be cool or you're gonna come out of a bag on this, but you know, you just have to be upfront and honest. Get to know that person. You know, if
Yes.
y'all gotta be friends first, if y'all got to be cool, homies, whatever, you ain't got to rush and jump in bed with nobody. Ladies, fellas, know your worth. You're worth waiting for. If that person's not gonna wait for you, on to the next. So what did we say? Communication. You can agree or disagree. Be yourself. You know, don't be afraid to speak up. Try new things as long as it doesn't, like Siobhan say, conflict with your morals or your religion. You know, be open to trying new things. And one thing we don't do, don't think we heard anybody say this, but we don't consider what that person is going through. Now, you can't physically put yourself in that person's shoes, but what we try to do is, like, before we open our mouth now and just say whatever, because we used to just fly off at the mouth and we didn't care. And there were consequences behind that. There were penalties because we didn't stop and think about how that person was feeling, whether we were right or wrong. Consider what that person is going through. You know, they may have had a hard day. You may have had a hard day. I can come together and be like, no, baby, I got you. I'm going to give you a massage, whatever. Basically, we already got to go out in the world and fight a war.
Mm-hmm.
We shouldn't have to come home and fight one too.
That's right. That is so true.
So basically, it's just all those things. And when we're going to say this and we're going to shut up, but if you ain't ready to be married, don't get married.
Say it again, please.
If you're not ready to be married, don't get married.
So you heard it from Queen Candy. If you're not ready to get married, don't do it.
Don't do
Just
it.
say no.
Yeah,
Just
just
say no.
tell them. Just like y'all was saying, you know, those are conversations you got to have, because we've seen people, 5-6 years, I don't want to have kids. But wait, what? Wait, we didn't say that when we was dating. Like, what you mean? Like, yeah, but those are things that you should have. But we see people, and they're probably gonna kill us for saying this. We don't know if we finna say it anyway. This is for conversation. But he tells us about a couple of his friends that are married that got little side chicks, and we just like, why did y'all even get married? What was the point? Now you're doing that. What do you think she's doing? Just saying. But you know, and we can't. I don't even care. We can't stand our husband. We're not finna step out. We'll tell him, you know, baby, you know what? We don't think this gonna work. But if you're not ready, communicate, consideration, respect. Oh wow, can't even say that enough. But like I said, if you ain't ready to get married, don't get married. We're gonna shut up.
Okay. All right, Pastor Cockfield, take it away.
Yeah, and that's why I used the two passages of scriptures I did about, this anger thing. And I'm speaking from a male's perspective and a husband, being the head of a household. I think sometimes, if you're not careful in that communication and you feel challenged or threatened, as a man, sometimes because of this role we've been told we're supposed to have, and there's certain expectations that come with it, like we're supposed to have all the answers. We'll feel challenged. We'll feel like our backs against the wall, and we come out angry or harsh. And I would say, don't you start a relationship off like that, it's gonna be bad business, because then you'll feel that you always have to. I'm speaking from a male perspective. You always got to have an answer in that relationship, because I think the beauty of the relationship you're dating is really, again, this subject matter expert piece. Like, it's going to be things she know that you don't know, and vice versa. And it's really about just having enough manhood to be vulnerable enough to say, hey, okay, let's share. Let's talk about that. And I give you a good example. I was bad with finances. The person that I was with was good with finances. Well, guess what? I was raised in a household. You don't let your woman handle your wallet and all that old crazy stuff. And guess what? And then that's why the checkbooks wasn't balanced, and we was in the negative and all this other crazy stuff. And then when I got challenged about that, I took it wrong. I was like, well, I'm the head of this household. Yes, but there's other people that paying a price for that too. Children. Why? So, that's crazy. So I just think, we just, let me go to this too. Get married and don't know why you're doing it. And man, that's dangerous. And I'm gonna tell you why it's dangerous, because I just had a conversation with some other men and somebody else today, and we talked about the ramifications that come along with that misunderstanding about what a good, pure, honest, true relationship is supposed to look like. Like, what are those benchmarks and standards that drove you to come together in the first place? So I challenged somebody today. I said, man, it's crazy. I said, we had these marriage vows and we read them and we up there standing, oh yeah. And then the whole marriage, we never go back and check them. We don't look at them. And so I use in Lean 6, we have something called the DMAIC, and it's define, measure, analyze, improve, control. And one of the things that I challenged this person on, and she's married, and I said, let me ask you a question. When the last time, first of all, how long y'all been married? Oh, they've been married a long time. I said, when the last time you checked them vows? Because, she was saying, we're having all this difficulty and all this stuff. I said, well, okay. What defined the relationship in the first place? Did you go back and look in them vows? She said, you know what? I ain't seen them. I've never looked at them the whole relationship. I said, oh, Lord, help us. Now, I'm going to use myself as this example to prove my point on this. And I mean, if you're going to date somebody, this is important. So me, I'm military. I come in town and then we just want to go get married. So what do? We go to the courthouse, and I don't know this cat. This judge just got up there and said, oh, blah, 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 blah. Okay, give me your $25, with the court deal. I paid it. And then I get a refund in the mail, $15. So my marriage worth $10. Now listen to this. And I don't know what that man said. I can't tell you today. I don't even have a copy of it. So I had to tell somebody this. I said, Lord have mercy, Jesus. I said, man, if somebody was to ask me that, what is the benchmark, standard, foundation, the definition of your relationship? I don't even know. I can't tell you. The man probably did. Who knows? So I'm just putting it out there. If you gonna get married, that definition, that being defining that relationship, what that benchmark and standard is gonna be, you need to get that straightened out before you get started. Because I think it's sad. And then that second piece is, if you're gonna go ahead and get in that relationship, I think it's like anything else. And when we go to work or whatever, they'll tell you, did you go back and read the HR manual? Did you go back and check and see what you're supposed to be doing? Please do that in your marriage. Lord Jesus, go back and, okay, can we stop? I don't care if it's every month, once a year, something, every 6 months. Can we please stop and go back and look at what we said we was going to do? And are we doing it? Because that's measuring. Like, I want to see how well I'm performing in this relationship, how far off we've gotten. And there's a gap with that. And we don't do that enough. So I just want to throw that out there and being transparent.
I'm sitting here laughing within myself because when my mother would disagree with something my father said. And so when they got married, the minister that married them, his name was Abraham Gaston. And my dad, well, that's not what you said when you stood before Abraham. Abraham asked you, and you said, what did you say? You said he would bring that poor man up,
I do.
After about 30 years, I'm like, I'm sure that Abraham is going to glory by now. Leave that man. But he would. What? Well, that's not what you said when you stood before Abraham.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, one day he even went back to the dress that she had on with that big wide collar on it. And I'm like, no, you did. I mean, he would bring it up every time, and you're right. You have to take it back to the old landmark sometimes and go over that. And remind yourself of what you committed to and what you got yourself into.
Yep.
Yeah, that's like when you buy a new car. Who sits down and read the manual? I know I don't.
No.
If something goes wrong, I have to go pull the manual. Look, okay, what is this? Shoot! I want the keys and get out of there and let me go. Same thing, same principle, same concept. So listen, guys, this has been another real series as it has been from day one. It's just we covered some good ground on the effects of culture and religion and just general ideas, basic ideology on relationships and dating. No two people probably view this thing the same. And so when you come together with someone or you decide you want to come together, there needs to be some crucial Okay?
Mhm.
Conversations. And there probably needs to be some confrontationals too, but
Mm.
have them up front on the front end so you can get rid of all this stuff on the tail end. You can come together and smooth sailing on down the road. And so I want to thank you, Queen Candy, for agreeing to be a
Oh, yeah.
panelist tonight and
Wow.
bringing it
Thank
to
you.
us, bringing it and keeping it real. Siobhan, the relationship strategist, again, I thank you as always for keeping it real. And Pastor Cockfield, definitely keep it real 100 all the time. And so until 2 weeks from now, when we meet again for another series, which will be series 4 on relationships and Christian dating, I want to say to our listening audience, may God bless you today, tomorrow, and always, and have a good night.
Thank you.
It was nice meeting everybody.
Yes,
Bye.
Bye.